It's late in the evening in the town of Syria, about 100 kilometers from Brunei's capital, Bandar Seri Begawan. Yet these oil pumps continue to grind on, pulling precious drops of black gold from the depths of the earth.
Brunei was self-sufficient, it was economically, self-supporting, but it was still poor. And then, of course, in 1929, oil was discovered, and that did transform Brunei quite tremendously.
Over the decades, these machines, known locally as the nodding donkey, have come to symbolize Brunei's enduring wealth.
Oil and gas is such a very important revenue for Brunei. That's undeniable.
But now, with oil revenues falling, Brunei must plan for its economic future.
This diversification agenda has been there for many years. We started to be a bit more intensive, maybe about 15 years ago. And so we start to see a lot of this positive result over the last 10 years.
But will that be enough to usher in a new era for the small Southeast Asian nation? It's 3 p.m. at Kampong Kilanas, a quiet township about 12 kilometers away from Brunei's capital. This peaceful retreat is where 35-year-old Muhammad Izzat spends most of his days off, far from the constant hum of the oil rigs where he works.
I'm a control room operator for one of the biggest oil and gas industry in Brunei. So I've been working since 2009 up until now.
With his 5,000 Bruneian dollar monthly salary, just under $4,000, he was able to buy this second home a year ago. It cost about 350,000 Bruneian dollars.
I feel very fortunate to live in Brunei. I started off as someone I don't know what to do with my financial, so as time goes on, so my life is getting towards the better. I'm regarding myself as a person who's going to the successful path.
What gives Bruneians like Izzat a more disposable income are the government's generous cradle-to-grave welfare programs. Here, education is accessible to all, completely free. Comprehensive healthcare costs just $1. Basic necessities such as food, petrol, electricity and housing are subsidized by the government. And while the saying goes that nothing is certain except death and taxes, Bruneians are exempted from income tax.
In a way, they're blessed. You could make an argument that life has perhaps been a little bit too easy sometimes. I mean, within a regional context, if you compare it to neighbouring countries in Southeast Asia.
What makes all of this possible is oil. Often called the black gold, it has fueled the nation's growth and prosperity for decades. It was first discovered by a British firm, the British Malayan Petroleum Company, or BMPC. In 1932, oil production increased to around 2,000 barrels per day. It later became part of Brunei Shell Petroleum, a joint venture between the Brunei government and Royal Dutch Shell, each holding a 50% stake in the company. Brunei's GDP per capita income grew from just over $1,000 in 1965 to almost $35,000 today.
The economic fortunes of Brunei turned around pretty quickly. It became one of the world's wealthiest nations. With the oil revenue, they were able to undertake massive, extensive investment in infrastructure. You have seen road connections, the building of modern educational institutions, healthcare facilities, public utilities. And at the same time, the government was able to provide very generous social assistance in the form of free healthcare, free education.
In the past year, oil and gas revenues were approximately $1.82 billion US, accounting for about 75% of the total national revenue. With the population of fewer than 500,000 people, the government has been able to share the wealth generously through comprehensive welfare programs.
I guess the previous Sultan, Sultan Muhammad Ali Saifuddin, decided that he would establish a welfare state. So since that time it's really provided all Bruneians with free education, healthcare, various subsidies on everyday products as well.
We see we have a good standard of living in terms of infrastructure and also quality of life. We're able to support and transform Brunei to a country where our infrastructure is relatively good, competitive. So all these things are blessed from the oil and gas industry in Brunei.
But today, almost a century after oil was first discovered, production has fallen. In 2006, Brunei produced over 220,000 barrels of crude oil per day. By 2023, that number had dropped to 93,000, a decline of more than 50%. Production declined further to 73,000 barrels per day by early 2024.
Well, from the current fields, it is to a certain extent getting less and less. Not that it is really going to be detrimental, but looking at the finiteness of oil and gas from the current fields, definitely we will have to diversify our economy. But in the meantime, the government is also working with the oil and gas companies to explore new areas.
It's not a secret that the Brunei's reserves are depleting, and primarily the reason is that we don't have a lot of new discoveries that are happening.
But the actual amount of oil left is difficult to discern. In fact, the estimate was recently adjusted up in 2020 from 1.1 billion barrels to 1.3 billion. But for former journalist Malai Osman, the downward trend seems inevitable.
Even during that time in the 1990s, per barrel is 100 over dollars, 1 barrel of oil. And at the time we are producing 200 over 1,000 barrels a day. And today we can only sell the oil at $60, $70 per barrel, and we can only produce 78,000 barrels a day, or 80,000 barrels a day.
Revenue depended on the outlook of the global oil prices, and with the global oil prices on the circular trend of a slow drift downwards, then yes, we can see some of this materialize in the total revenue that is received by the Brunei government.
Perhaps a sign of the sector's dwindling fortunes. This June, Brunei Shell Petroleum quietly conducted employee layoffs. Over 200 employees took early retirement packages aimed at cutting operational expenditure. For many Bruneians, the country's oil riches are inseparable from their way of life. In July this year, 41-year-old filmmaker Adam Groves was out skateboarding with his son when misfortune struck.
I did a skateboard trick which I landed in the wrong way, and I broken my bones. I heard the crack. I heard the bones. I passed out, and the next thing I knew, I was in the emergency room, and they said that they had to correct my placement of my leg because it was really damaged. So during the operation, I was told that they had to put a metal steel rod into my leg, and then a plate and a couple of screws.
Born and raised in Brunei to an English father and a Malay mother, Adam was able to avail of the benefits of citizenship. The surgery on his leg cost just $1 for the registration fee, thanks to free government healthcare.
I've heard stories, outside when you have medical operations, surgery outside of Brunei, it will be costly. But I'm thankful that, Brunei has that, it was all paid for. I would say Bruneians are blessed that they don't have to pay.
Other subsidies have also benefited the people materially.
13 buah.
Kereta apa?
Kereta H1, Lexus, Eco, Tucson, Santa Fe, Land Cruiser.
Around 5 or 6. 6 cars. It is including of my children. They have their own car to go to work and school.
On average, Bruneians own the most number of cars across Southeast Asia. Izzat and his family own a total of 11 cars, including sedans, sports cars and sport utility vehicles.
This is my Nissan 350Z, so I'm using this for my social gathering and for me to have my fun drive. As you can see, this is my other ride, so I'm using this for long distance driving. This is my family car, so anywhere I go within this country, I'll be using this car. I really like cars, so it's part of my hobbies and my goals to actually own a car that suits my taste. So I have owned several sports cars as well. So family cars and a sedan, a hatchback. If one broke down, I still have another one.
Every year, the government allocates between 1 to 300 million Bruneian dollars for fuel subsidies. A reason why Bruneians don't feel the pinch of owning multiple cars.
1 liter of bottled water costs us around $1 So for the fuel that I'm using, RON 97, is about 53 cents per liter. The car that I'm driving right now for RON 97 is about $20 for a full tank.
Bruneians enjoy one of the highest living standards in Southeast Asia, with a per capita income of approximately $35,000 annually, second only to Singapore. But the cost of living here is lower, thanks in part to long-term government price controls on essential goods.
So, the government has heavily subsidized basic commodities such as staple food, education, healthcare, petrol, which has allowed the citizens to enjoy high standards of living, even though the income has not adjusted for a while. This is what we sometimes call the resource curse as well, where people sometimes become dependent on government subsidies and welfare.
But how long can these good times last, with growing signs that Brunei's oil and gas earnings are sliding? And how is the country preparing for a post-oil future? It's the break of dawn in Bandar Seri Begawan. The early morning stillness is broken by the call to prayer from the Sultan Ali Saifuddin Mosque, which reverberates gently through the city. The mosque was built in 1958 by Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin III at a cost of $5 million, equivalent to about $55 million today. It stands as a symbol of the country's growing wealth at that time. 69-year-old retired journalist Malai Hassan Othman spent 5 years working as a draftsman at Brunei's Shell company in the early 80s.
At that time, we thought we'll never run out of oil. We were told there'll be more, maybe 30 years more, 50 years more, So, but then during that time, you don't appreciate that because we have plenty of oil.
But there are signs that era of abundance is waning, not only due to diminishing oil extraction, but also developments elsewhere.
If you look at the technology space, the US shale revolution is a game changer, and it is bringing more supply to the market. And on the demand side, if you look at the structural change in energy patterns, consumption patterns, clearly moving away from fossil fuels towards renewables, towards cleaner energy. So these are what I would characterize as circular trends that put a lot of pressure on oil prices. And oil prices, as we know, no longer going back to the $100 per barrel over the last decade.
These factors shook Brunei in 2016. Brent crude oil crashed to $34 per barrel, down from over $100 2 years prior. As a result, Brunei's GDP contracted by 2.6%.
That means it'll be more challenging to fund, say, social programs, investment in critical infrastructures that is still critical in many of these developing economies, including Brunei.
So, in 2016, the Brunei government responded by implementing funding cuts across nearly every department. It announced a total budget of 5.6 billion Bruneian dollars or $3.9 billion US, $100 million US less than the previous financial year.
The 2015 and 2016 global oil price crash actually did impact Brunei's economy quite a bit. So we saw the government being more prudent and more careful with the national spending, including being more cautious with its subsidies.
I think during those years, I think we tried to look at how our expenditures were going and to try to see whether we can manage it at a lower budget. But I think having tried that for a few years, I think that the expenditures, we know it is more than what we targeted. And so if you see since 2018-19, we have since grew that significantly. So just to ensure that we have the necessary budget to support the initiatives of the government.
While the government reversed some of the spending cuts following the oil price rebound in 2018, the downward pressure has returned. Broadly, the price of oil has been on a slide since 2022.
We still have problem with budget deficit, so we still have that challenges, which is, which government is handling quite well on the budget deficit. So, yeah, I mean, we have to diversify quickly, fast,
Brunei had long anticipated the day when the oil revenues dropped. 2 decades ago, in 2004, Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah approved the creation of the Council for Long-Term Development Planning to look at the country's economic future. The Council's suggestions eventually coalesced into Wawasan Brunei 2035, or Brunei's Vision 2035, officially launched in 2008. The plan has 3 goals. First, to have an educated, skilled and accomplished citizenry. Second, to have a high quality of life. And third, to develop a dynamic and sustainable economy.
It's something that we take pride in and continue to look after the welfare of our people and to provide not just about good welfare, but also provide good social infrastructure, housing, hospital, education. And so these are part and parcel of, help of things that we need to do to try to move our country forward as outlined in our Brunei Vision 2035.
Education is a key pillar of this vision. For the country to pivot from oil, it will need to diversify the skills of its workforce of around 220,000 people.
Creating this dynamic and sustainable economy is very important, and to continue to develop our human capital is very important so that they probably will be less reliant on welfare going forward.
And so there are a couple of other sectors that Brunei has been exploring, the halal manufacturing sector. ecotourism sector, digital economy sector, agri-tech sector, and also education and training sector.
Here, at the University of Brunei Darussalam, Lim Zhiying is currently pursuing a postgraduate degree in nursing. Her university mate, Rabiatu Atika Mali, is studying Islamic finance. Like all Bruneians, their tuitions are free, paid for by the government.
We're fortunate enough in Brunei that education is essentially free for most people, or at least all citizens and permanent residents. So it allows people with lower privileges to have this first step of opportunity to be able to build their lives and their careers, their futures, into a better position. So I believe that everyone should have the right to free education.
I do think if that benefit are taken back, my family could still give me the opportunity to study and continue and further my studies. But again, it is not everyone's in getting that privilege. But so yeah, I think it should be free.
The story of education represents the closing window of opportunity for Brunei. To realize Vision 2035, the country has to use and invest its oil riches while it still has them.
So we want to make sure that this, whatever we have benefited from oil and gas, it creates a good foundation for growth and development going forward.
This is very, very urgent. Economic diversification is on top priority, the Brunei national agenda. Diversification is not just about economics, but it is also about national sustainability. So it is important for the country to use the resources that it still has to invest in the future. There's a lot of urgency within the government and also the leadership in Brunei. And so there has been very concerted effort, and I can say a very commendable effort from various ministries to come together to diversify the economy. The government has taken a whole of government, whole of nation approach to tackle diversification.
The third goal of Vision 2035 is to develop a diverse economy. Can a country that has been so dependent on one resource achieve this? This is Muara Port, Brunei's largest deep-water harbour. Strategically located on the northeastern coast of Brunei Bay, it was established in 1973 and serves as the country's primary international trade gateway. As part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, the port was eventually acquired by Muara Port Company, or MPC, a joint venture between Brunei's Asset Sendirian Berhad and China's Guangxi Beipu Gulf International Port Group of Company.
Other than oil and gas, whereby we mainly handle domestic goods, mainly for domestic consumptions, and we do have some exports going out from Brunei, mainly foodstuff and some materials as well. The country is trying to help develop other industries to grow. We have a few potential industries that we are looking into, for example, the aquaculture, food industries, the halal industries as well, and the likes.
Since 2022, the non-oil and gas sector has contributed more than 50% of our total GDP. In terms of export, now we are exporting more non-oil and gas products than oil and gas products. And so today you're looking at 60 to 70% of our total exports are made up of non-oil and gas products.
This port is currently undergoing a major expansion. Once completed in 3 years' time, the $300 million refurbishment will more than double its current capacity of 220,000 20-foot container equivalent units to 500,000 a year.
We need to ensure that the port is ready. When the port is ready, only then the confidence of the foreign direct investors will be there. Hence the expansion of the port.
The development of the Muara port aligns with Brunei's Vision 2035. the nation's long-term plan for economic diversification beyond the oil sector. Attracting foreign investments is a key priority.
Just back in 2019, the non-oil and gas product export only comprises of 10% of our total export. Today, we are heading towards 70%. So I think these are all showing positive sign that all this FDI has created a stronger economic fundamental for us. But we will continue to improve.
The government has rolled out a slew of measures to lure investors. Brunei has among the lowest corporate tax rates in the region at 18.5%. The country also allows foreign investors full ownership of their businesses and offers zero personal income tax.
What's importantly for us to look at are they helping to create a job? Are they helping to help to diversify our economy and to be the catalyst for leading to more investments going forward?
Singapore-based fish farm operator Barramundi Group seized the opportunity in 2019. The company holds over 8,000 hectares of sea and land leases, operating one of the region's largest aquaculture facilities. Its primary focus is on farming barramundi, also known as Asian sea bass.
As you know, the world population is actually it's growing at a very, very rapid clip. And we know that there's a protein challenge that's coming up in the future. There's going to be a real need for clean protein that's sustainably produced. And in fish farming, it is one of the most resource-efficient ways to grow protein.
Barramundi Group has a total workforce of 45 employees, 70% of whom are local. The company is angling to produce around 36,000 tons of processed fish by 2032.
We use multiple technologies. We do land-based, we also do sea-based farming. Land-based, we use a recirculating aquaculture system, and what that does is that it controls the environment very carefully so that the fish are grown healthily, and then we transfer them out to sea where they can then continue on to grow up to harvest.
The high-value fish is exported to Singapore and other international markets. The global aquaculture industry is currently valued at $250 billion. It's projected to reach around $370 billion by 2034. Brunei wants to hook a bigger share of this growing market.
For food alone, there are several millions, several hundred millions of potential investment in the pipeline. So that is we were working out together with the investors to bring them in.
When we actually came into Brunei, we found that support continued on. We were given very choice sites actually, on land as well as at the sea. And in Mengsalut, we have a 17-hectare plot, and that will fulfill our needs for the foreseeable future.
Brunei has also looked for partners further afield. As of 2023, China is Brunei's second largest source of foreign investment after the UK. The largest Chinese investments so far are concentrated in fossil fuel and related industries. These are industries like refining and the manufacture of petrochemicals, plastics, and lubricants.
We look into where our strengths are. What are the sectors that we believe we have a strong potential. So downstream oil and gas is one of them. So today we have quite a number of factories built under this priority sector, and that will continue to generate more and more downstream opportunity for our economy.
And that they have been doing really well because they have been tapping on strategic FDIs, and they are able to even expand the range of products that they are offering.
Japanese-based firm Brunei Methanol Company, or BMC, fits that bill. Methanol is a raw material used in the production of a wide range of biochemical products such as plastics, paints, adhesives, and synthetic fibers. Currently, BMC employs 200 staff. 95% of them are Bruneians.
Our investment has contributed to effective use of natural gas in the country, also job creation, technology transfer, and knowledge sharing. We are committed to supporting the growth of local industries and overall development of Brunei's economy.
By operating in the methanol industry, we are helping Brunei expand its industrial base through providing methanol as a key feedstock for a number of upcoming projects, downstream projects, and reduce its dependency on oil revenue, which is in line with the country's diversification goals.
There is also the hope that foreign investments will bring skills and technology transfer. On the Global Innovation Index, which accounts for things like human capital and market sophistication, Brunei ranks near the bottom among ASEAN countries. It sits just above Cambodia and Laos.
It's not just about finance. Finance is important, but we want to also ensure that some of this investment provide jobs, quality jobs for our people, technology transfer, open up market for us so that we can increase our trade with other countries, and also at the end of the day, we want to create that spin-off for our local SMEs, so that the market become bigger for them.
But while all these initiatives get off the ground, for now, oil remains the driver of Brunei's economy.
The oil and gas, as in the hydrocarbon resources, is still a major contributor to GDP, to national income, to the government fiscal coffers. So it will not be replacing the oil and gas revenue in the short term.
I must say that oil and gas continues to be an important resource, not just in terms of energy now, but also in terms of materials. Every material you see comes in some way from oil and gas. Our shoes, our tires, our seats, our sofas, they all have some oil and gas component. I must say that oil and gas, it will still remain an important contribution to the economy, but it will not be the main contributor. We will look into other areas, inshallah, again.
But with just 10 years remaining to achieve its Vision 2035, is Brunei moving quickly enough? And will Bruneians embrace the change needed to achieve their national ambitions? It's 6:30 in the evening. 60-year-old water taxi operator Tasat Daud is still out on the water, ferrying passengers. It's a routine he's kept almost every day for the last 3 decades, shuttling back and forth between the stilted homes and the nearby town, from dawn till dusk.
Kalau mengikut aku punya daripada awal-awalnya lah, jadi keturunan macam abang saya lah, sebagai seorang penambang. Kadang-kadang ada juga lah lumayan waktu ada keramaian, betul.
As a water taxi operator, he can earn up to $1,000 Bruneian a month.
Kira-kira mencukupi lah sebagai seorang penambang. Artinya untuk memberi makan anak bini pun boleh lah.
This cluster of water villages is hailed as the Venice of Asia. It is a major landmark in Brunei Darussalam. But at the time when Brunei looks to the future, the community here feels tethered to the past. 55-year-old village headman Mylin Saad still hums the old familiar tune that his late father sang while he was waiting for the next boat to arrive.
Anding karang-karangan. Lagu itu, ia lagu mengisahkan lagu itu terkenangnya kembali peristiwa dulu yang mana penduduk kampung air ini adalah dikatakan mencari sumber rezeki melalui daripada laut. Jadinya saya terkenang lagu itu semasa saya kecil, saya pun hampir menyalam untuk mendapatkan karang-karangan seperti kupang, ramis dan juga selisip.
Mylin was born and raised in Kampung Air.
Di sinilah tempat tumpuan orang-orang yang bergelar seperti patih, panglima dan juga pembesar-pembesar negara. Kalau boleh tempat ini dikekalkan pasalnya ini adalah sejarah bagi negara Brunei Darussalam.
At its peak, around 30,000 people lived here. Today, only about 1/3 remain, mostly older residents. The others have moved out due to urban migration and modernization.
Pasalnya kampung air ini mungkin akisan tanah itu tidak lagi berapa menjamin. Kebanyakannya kampung air ini dia punya material infrastructure sudah tidak berapa kokoh lagi. Sekarang generasi baru ingin berpindah ke darat.
Brunei is experiencing a slow but steady flow of change. But there could be growing pains.
Most people would still prefer to work for the government because of job security and other perks. Yeah, but then because the jobs are so limited and competition is very high, so young people especially are a lot more realistic with their expectations. So they're looking beyond public sector jobs. But our private sector is quite limited and quite small.
We want Brunei to have educated people. We want to have a dynamic economy. But our problem is that we don't have enough job for them.
According to the World Bank, in 2023, Brunei had the highest youth unemployment rate in ASEAN at 18.5%. 2 years ago, Muhammad Herzi Zulfakar graduated with a diploma in business from a private college. The 24-year-old is still unemployed. While on the job hunt, he plays football for a local club, receiving an allowance of around 300 Bruneian dollars a month. Unfortunately, all his 30 job applications had either been rejected or were met with silence.
Yeah, there are jobs available. There's a lot of jobs, but then sometimes they don't match what you've studied, and they just don't match like what's your goals and everything. And there's a lot of competition as well.
In the meantime, Herzi has also started a small courier business to help supplement his income. But his ultimate goal is to land a government job one day.
The government job, yeah, it gives stability in life. Because when you're working in private companies, they only offer you like 2 years contract or 3 years contract. Let's take an example when you loan a car. Let's say if I work in a private company, I only have 2 years contract in that company. But my car has a 5 years loan or 7 years loan. So I will wonder like, what if my contract, they didn't continue my contract? How am I going to able to pay the car?
The civil service, however, may be hard-pressed to absorb more of the workforce. A 2023 IMF report noted public sector wages make up about 35% of government spending. It's well above the ASEAN average of 25%. However, there's a silver lining. While the number of public sector jobs declined since 2014, those in the private sector have steadily climbed.
10 years ago, we have about 50% of the total workforce in the public sector. So this has changed, and that's because of the diversification strategies that we are implementing that create a bigger private sector.
To help quicken the pace, the government is encouraging entrepreneurship.
So recently we have managed to get about 20 entrepreneurs, potential entrepreneurs to join us, the young people. So we trained them, we brought them to the farms and see for themselves. At the same time also we work with financial institutions to help and try to make the startups easier.
So the government has encouraged entrepreneurship, which is an avenue that some young people have taken up. And so we see that the youth are definitely, there is a shift from the previous generation in terms of welfare dependency mentality.
Among them is 28-year-old Muhammad Ajrul Azman Azmani from Zayas Enterprise. After the passing of his father a few years ago, he took over this 2-hectare plot of land. He leases the land from the government for $25 a month to grow vegetables using hydroponics.
Since my father passed away, since early January 2023, we become more obliged and more active in continuing his legacy. We don't want his effort to just go like that. We want to grow it more.
Currently, the company earns around 10,000 Bruneian dollars or $7,800 a month by supplying vegetables to local supermarkets. And Ajrul has bigger plans.
I'm hoping by next year can already export. As of now, we would like in the future to market our product overseas, but as of now, we're still trying to meet the demands of local.
Meanwhile, established businesses are looking beyond Brunei's shores. This factory houses one of the country's leading meat processing companies. Having met its domestic market, PDS Abattoir has ventured overseas, exporting its halal products across the region.
The local market is very small, so I say they need to be a shift in mindset, which we are trying to advocate to the whole organization, that we shouldn't be looking at our market being local market. Our local market should be regional.
However, with Brunei's small population and limited talent pool, there could be a constraint to how quickly businesses can grow.
Like any business, we face some challenges. These included a limited local workforce because people sometimes leave their jobs, also relying on outside experts for certain tasks, and the need to keep up with the changes in the global market.
What we've been doing is we recruit overseas, but we also have the clear notion that there are people to be trained within that sphere. We say, okay, within 2 years, these people will be ready to take over.
One thing that is strong in Brunei, have a population of youth, very high population of youth, more than 40%. So these are our assets for the future. So inshallah again, development will be different, but the future is very much in the hands of the youth.
Yet, the shift away from oil could bring other changes. At stake is Brunei's extensive welfare system.
The current welfare and subsidies that Bruneians are enjoying may be reduced because it will not be sustainable, especially without the oil revenue. So Bruneians need to be adept to new challenges and new changes.
Bruneians are very feeling like a spoon-fed kind of culture, but I don't really see it negative way because all these benefits are giving me the motivation to contribute back to the Brunei economy.
It is 10 years till the culmination of Brunei's Vision 2035. Here, in the oil fields of Syria, each oscillation of the oil donkeys is like a ticker, counting down to this end point. Is the kingdom on track to transform its economy for a post-oil future?
Countries like UAE and Saudi, they are a lot more aggressive in their diversification, and they do have, resources and the scale to make things happen, especially with large-scale infrastructure projects. Brunei is a lot more cautious, possibly conservative in such efforts.
I mean, the plans that have been implemented are functioning, but perhaps it's the degree of progress which is the cause for concern. Yeah. The problem, I guess, one, not sufficient foreign direct investment, and Brunei's working quite hard to attract more. And of course, obviously with a small population, it's dealing with a very, very small market.
We measure Brunei based on our yardstick. I know there are constraints, for example, in terms of population, small population. But nevertheless, small or sometimes can be beautiful.
I think managing change, you have to pace it correctly. If you rush it, the population may not be quite ready, and as a result, it may hurt you may hurt your economy. And so you impose a lot of new policies, and that sometimes can be counterproductive.
Certainly, there are a lot of challenges ahead, but I believe that with this sustained momentum, building on the past successful efforts, I believe they are on the right track.
As for ordinary Bruneians, they brace for the changes the future brings. A future where one day the oil wells may run low.
So maybe if the resources dry out, I might be shocked one day. Yeah. But it depends on the government's effort to educate us, maybe to help us in being prepared for that situation to come.